Here are the most gruesome, horrific, and creative deaths in anime. Hello guys, it's me. I haven't posted in quite some time. It's been almost 4 or 5 months. I just got motivated, so I'm gonna start hopefully uploading more often from now. But this video, I'm just trying out different stuff, so we're gonna see how this video goes. In this video, I will be sharing with you guys some of the most gruesome, horrific, and creative deaths in all of anime. Quick disclaimer, these are all the shows that I have personally watched, so if there are other animes out there that you think deserve more recognition or have more scarier deaths, please let me know in the comments. As usual, I will not be ranking these from 1 to 5. Instead, I'll just be splitting them up in different sections and then talking about each one of them. So for the first death, we have a character from JoJo Bizarre Adventure. Now, I am on part 3 of JoJo's, which is Diamond is Unbreakable, so I haven't reached this part yet. So I had to do a little bit of research to find out why this death is talked about so often. Basically, here's the rundown of part 5. So again, this whole video is going to be spoilers, so just be careful about that. JoJo's part 5, Golden Wind, is where we have our main character, also called Giorno. He is the son of Dio, who is the main antagonist of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures part 1 and part 2. And it's very interesting how JoJo does things, because you don't really see in anime much often a antagonist son be the protagonist of a show. So Giorno is like a regular dude who just wants to join the Italian mafia and just be the most well-known, respected person. And the current leader of the mafia is Diavolo. And basically, the whole story is they both get in a fight towards the end of the series. And you have, in JoJo, there's something called stands, which is like a genie, except instead of granting wishes, it grants you certain powers. And so, Giorno's stand is gold experience. And in this part, we learn that you can upgrade your stand and make it even stronger. So the base form of Giorno's stand allows him to turn inanimate objects and give them life, which is kind of overpowered, but it's not enough to defeat Diavolo's stand, which is called King Crimson. I'm not going to be talking about more of the stand. We're mostly going to focus on Giorno's stand. So Giorno's stand is very unique, right? And in this part, we learned that you can upgrade your stand by getting hit by what's called a Requiem arrow. And a Requiem arrow, Giorno gets his hands on one, I don't know how, and he stabs his stand with it, and he upgrades his stand to Gold Experience Requiem, which is one of the strongest, if not the strongest ability we've seen in JoJo's. As far as my knowledge, I don't know how good Stone Ocean is. So basically, the way Giorno's stand ability works in his upgraded form is he takes an action and sets that action or willpower to a state of 0. Picture this: you're running from point A to point B, and if Giorno activates his stand, you reach back, you teleport from point B to point A. So it's like you've never ran the race in the first place. So it kind of works the same way, but it defeats Diavolo's stand and it puts him in a infinite death loop where he dies in different ways, and it's pretty bad because his memories each time he dies still remain intact. If you're a regular person and you keep dying in different ways while experiencing the pain and the way you died, you are eventually going to break down. And remember, this loop is infinite. You can't break out of this cycle. And what happens is Diavolo dies first to a drug guy who just stabs him to death. The second time, he gets surgically removed. One of his organs are surgically removed and he has to experience it. And the third time, he gets hit by a car. And then it just continues. And one of the things the stand does is the person who's affected by the stand, he never realizes the truth of his death, which is a very interesting aspect. This stand ability is very, very creative. I would argue that this is one of the most creative abilities in all of anime. And at the same time, the person going through it also has one of the worst possible deaths. After doing these research, I definitely feel motivated to pick up JoJo's and finish it, part 3, 4, and 5. And if you haven't watched JoJo's, I would recommend it. It's a great show. So for my next section, I'm going to group two characters because their deaths are very similar. We're going to be talking about Subaru from ReZero and Homura Akemi from Madoka Magica. So let's start off with ReZero. ReZero is not your traditional isekai anime where the main character gets hit by a truck and teleported to a new world, and most of his adventures are fun, amusing, and a very chill vibe. ReZero is where the main character, Subaru, just blinks near a convenience store and just gets teleported to another world. And like any other main characters, he's pretty happy about it. And, as he goes on with his day-to-day life, he gets in a battle with this assassin and he dies. And he gets teleported back to where he started. And this is a curse. We learn as the watchers that this is the curse that a witch, one of the strongest witches in the dimension, put on Subaru. This ability, called Return by Death, essentially, whenever Subaru dies, the ability sets him back to the previous checkpoint. Think about playing like a Roblox obby game, and every time you die, you get set back to the previous checkpoint and not to the very start. Now, Subaru is just a regular person like any of us, and over time, this Return by Death curse starts impacting his mental and emotional state because he finds people in this dimension that he starts liking and he wants to protect them. He doesn't want them to die, so each time he's always determined to protect them, but every time the outcome remains the same. Sometimes this takes him one episode to figure out what to do, or sometimes it takes a whole season. We still don't know why Subaru was teleported to this new dimension, but most fans speculate that Satella, the witch who is one of the strongest beings in the verse, summoned him because she has sort of a interest in him. We still don't know what that interest is. And basically, Subaru gets targeted by a bunch of other groups because since this witch bestowed a curse upon him, he walks around with this aura of the curse, which other people don't like. It's a very good and interesting show, but please be aware that this is very depressing. It's kind of like, think of a graph that just keeps going downwards and downwards. Every time Subaru does something good and he wins and gets a W, there's always more to come, and then the show just keeps going more depressing. Subaru kind of reminds me of Takemichi, but Subaru is, I would say, more well respected in the community because there's certain aspects within the story that makes him more, Subaru faces more unpredictable circumstances than Takemichi. Now for Homura Akemi, she is a character from Madoka Magica. I just finished watching this like a year or two ago, and it's a very mind-blowing, mind-bending show, if you could say that. It's one season long with 12 episodes, and a new movie is coming out. I don't know if it's out yet, but a new Madoka Magica movie is set to release sometime this year. The story goes with our main character, Madoka. She's just living her regular school life, and then we get introduced to our other main character, who is Homura. She is sort of obsessed with our main character, and for the first half of the show, she's cold and I hate her. But towards the latter part of the show is where we understand why she clings on to our main character so much. This world is kind of like Sailor Moon, but again with that depressing vibe of ReZero. So in this show, you have girls, mostly teenagers, who can get turned into magical girls with the help of this creature. This creature is called Kyubey, and just by the looks of it, you can already tell that he's giving off some sort of uncanny vibes. He's not cute, he's not fluffy like a pet, he's more of a creature, like a skinwalker, hiding behind all that skin. Now, the way it works is Kyubey basically takes your heart and turns it into a sort of soul gem, and he feeds on your emotions with it. And the emotions that you feel get transferred to the gem, and that gem helps to stop the expansion of the universe. So basically, Kyubey takes teenage girls and turns them to magical girls, uses their hearts to fuel and stop the expansion of the universe. Pretty important, right? Now, so far, the power system seems pretty self-explanatory. It seems pretty nice, but when you start the show, when I started the show at least, I already knew something was wrong from the very beginning. And we learned that through the introduction of the witches. The witches are basically people who derailed and just went bonkers, and their emotions went out of control, and their soul gem got tainted. Now, Madoka learns about this, and she decides to become a witch and fight one of the big witch bosses. This whole witch boss event kind of thing is called Walpurgis. Well, okay, I'm not even gonna try saying that. Just it's on the screen for you guys. But basically, she fights the witch and she ends up dying. And her friend Homura at that time, she becomes a magical girl and asks Kyubey to grant her powers to time travel. So essentially, she's stuck in this loop of traveling back and forth in time, each time trying to change Madoka's perspective on magical girls. Each time, Madoka always becomes a magical girl in the end and dies, except for the very last, I would say, timeline. In the very last timeline, Madoka becomes a magical girl, and her wish is to eliminate all the witches. And she goes on to fight this really big boss. And what we find is that she has become so powerful, she's literally on the level of God. And what we don't realize is every time Homura basically did a time skip, the energy of Madoka always increased. It kind of compounded over time, to the point where towards the end of the story, Madoka's all of her magic from all the different timelines combined, and she became one of the most powerful magical girl to ever live. And she became a godlike entity who existed everywhere but nowhere at once. She was in a sort of dimension, kind of like heaven, where us humans cannot like go there. And because of her, every new witch that was born was immediately extinguished and sent to the magical girl heaven. This show is definitely one of the most mind-blowing shows. It has so many layers you can unravel. There's so many theories about it. I'm excited for the movie. I don't know if it's going to be a sequel to these following events or what. I have not mentioned all the nuances within the show, but please check it out. It is definitely like a 12-episode crazy anime watch. But yeah, I mean, the most horrific part about this was, again, the infinite death loop of Homura trying her very best to make sure Madoka doesn't become a magical girl, and even at the very end, she failed to accomplish her goal. moving on, we're going to be talking about some pretty disturbing deaths. They're not necessarily creative like Diablos, or some have to do with time bending, like like an infinite time loop. These deaths are more retoned for real life scenarios. These deaths that I'm going to discuss in the next two sections have to deal with war and tragedy and the nuclear bomb. So we're going to start off with Barefoot Gen. Barefoot Gen is a film which was released in the 1970s. So Barefoot Gen is a 1983 autobiographical film that talks about the bombing of Hiroshima. The author of the manga, which later became a movie, actually was 6 years old when the bomb in Hiroshima was dropped. And the director of the film does a very good job of not censoring any of the absolutely terrifying scenes. I don't even think I can show you these scenes on YouTube, but some of these videos are up on YouTube. They basically show the impact the bomb had on some of the people. Like there's the scene where the bomb drops and you see a mom with her kid just immediately get vaporized, and another dog just immediately gone as well, and then another just kid playing on the sidewalk, and you can see his eyes bulge out of their socket and just melt. This scene the director uses is very horrific in the sense that it actually happened. And generally speaking, one of the worst ways to die is by radiation poisoning. So even if you manage to survive these huge nuclear bombs, the radiation is definitely one hell of a way to go out. I was doing some research regarding the health effects that Chernobyl had on some of the firefighters that were present at that time. And I'm going to go on this sort of tangent as to explaining why radiation poisoning is one of the worst ways to die. So the way radiation poisoning works is you get it, you don't know you have it, and you just go to the hospital with regular fever symptoms, and then over time it gets worse and worse, and towards the end you have organ damage and it kills you. And it kills you over a period of maybe 3 to 12 months. What's more horrific about this condition is the fact that there's no real treatment for it, because radiation, when it attacks your cells, there's not really much you can do to reverse that cell process. Because if we master reversing cell process, can we just start not aging and just be immortal? Like, that would be a insane medical breakthrough. But back to the point, what I'm trying to say is that this death of radiation poisoning is such a gruesome way to go. The movie doesn't focus on that aspect, I understand, but I'm just saying that if you somehow manage to survive the bomb and you get a lethal dosage of radiation, then that will ruin your life. Even very little can slowly, over time, influence some part of your physical and biological structure. Now, the next movie is also made around the same era as Barefoot Gen. This movie talks about the fire bombings of Kobe during World War. And when I tell you this movie made me cry, I don't think I've seen a single movie reaction where no one has cried to this. Like, this movie ruined my day. And it was depressing, it was sad, it was everything all at once. The best way to describe Grave of the Fireflies is it's a type of film that's a masterpiece, but you can only watch it once. And when I tell you I was bawling my eyes out, it was bad. Like, even after the 20 minutes of the movie being over, I was still crying like crazy. Mostly because I have a younger sibling too, so I kind of related to the aspect of the main character, because the main character was around the same age as I was when I watched the movie, and he also had a little sister. I have a little brother, but you get the connection, right? So the story starts off, Blaine, it's just his family, and they're just having fun, and then the sirens start ringing, and the boy basically packs up, puts his sister on his shoulder, kind of straps him, and he tells his mom to go to the nearby shelter while he just goes in a different direction. And we learned that while the mom was going to the fallout shelter, a bomb was dropped on her and her body was covered in bandages and she was just burned all over. She was pronounced dead a couple of hours later, and the boy and the sister were effectively orphans. And so, again, this movie is PG 14, which is very crazy because PG 14, I don't think kids at that age can even look at some of these stuff, because Grave of the Fireflies not only shows like burnt bodies just on the side on the road, literally in the first 15 minutes of the film, but it just shows a bunch of horrific deaths. Now, within the specific movie, the death that hit me and most other people was the death of the sister. Basically, the main character now, he's an orphan and he moves to his aunt's place. And the aunt is arguably one of the most hated characters in all of anime. Like, literally, there are multiple videos explaining why this aunt is a bastard. Like, she is like the scum of the earth. And I will never let that go. But yeah, basically the aunt, her husband, and she has a daughter. The daughter attends school. The husband works. I don't really remember where he worked. And over time, due to the war, the rations were starting to get reduced, and the kids, our main character and his sister, started getting fed very, very little. And her excuse was that, oh, you guys, you're not doing any work, but my family is, so they get to eat more. Like, we are freaking kids. How am I gonna help around the house? How? Like, what can I do? Like, I can't even legally enlist in the military. Like, what are you yapping about? And basically she's just a very annoying, pestering person. The sister is crying in the middle of the night, and instead of consoling her, she yells at the boy, our main character, to shut her up. Like, she is what, 6, maybe 8 years old, and she's crying because she's missing her mom, and you were just gonna yell at her? Like what is going on? But yeah, the show, like Barefoot Gen, employs very little music. Like, one of the things I've noticed in both these movies is the lack of music, which maybe it was because it was made really long time ago. But the lack of music definitely adds to the vibe and the depth of the story. Now, I'm gonna sound a bit nerdy, but I want to go into a little bit analysis of the movie. So the fireflies are constantly used as a symbolism to represent the innocent lives, because when the sister catches one and she lets it go, she mentions how the fireflies have such a short lifespan, which basically is like sort of an indication to how all these innocent people are dying so quickly to war. And towards the end of the movie, we reach a scene where the sister eventually dies because the main character, he has this argument with the aunt because she's not feeding them enough, and they decide to move out, start their own like house and start farming and all that stuff. But again, the rations were thinning and people were starting to give them less and less food for the same price. And eventually she was diagnosed with malnutrition and she had severe diarrhea. The boy went out, tried to steal some fruits, but he got caught, he got beat up, and then the next few days it was the same cycle. And eventually she ended up eating a marble, and the boy comes home and he's like, why are you eating a marble, right? And she starts imagining food. She starts taking rocks and saying things like, oh, this right here is soy sauce, which is really sad. I don't know how biologically accurate that is, like a depiction of malnutrition, but it was a pretty bad case, right? And she never woke up after that, and the boy had to put her in a wooden basket and carry her to the nearest hill and just burn her body. After that, he just lost all his sense of purpose, which connects back to like the opening sequence. It's kind of like, oh, this is where I am, and then they go to like a full flashback to the rest of the movie, and basically that's how it works. Now, the author of the book, which then got turned into a film, actually blames himself for the death of his sister. He believes that because he argued with the aunt instead of saying sorry and done all that stuff, maybe his sister wouldn't have died. Now, most fans who watched the movie disagree with him because they say he's obviously a kid. A kid who just lost his parents, took on the role of parenting, and has all these burdens alongside him that are just not being met. And any kid in this situation would not have the right mind to make such decisions, right? And not only that, but he didn't know, us as humans, we don't know what the outcome of the future is. Like, well, if I do this action A, how will that affect me in the future? So that's the main argument a lot of people make as to why he shouldn't blame himself. And a lot of people also say that the aunt should have been the adult in the situation and handled the situation as an adult instead of being a freaking bitch. Overall, I think dying from malnutrition or any slow deaths for that matter, like again, radiation poisoning is also kind of slow because it takes anywhere from weeks to months to die. It's definitely painful. So I mean, these are all the painful deaths uh, from the shows I have watched. So I mean, if there's other shows or movies relating to anime that you want me to check out and rank them, we can do that. Yeah. Also, side note, I just wanted to point out that Studio Ghibli movies are some of the best movies. I mean, the animation just being hand drawn makes the entire movie or the film just so fruity, so alive compared to some of the other shows that get aired today. I mean, Studio Ghibli just brings out emotions in a good way that you've never really experienced before. It's like you're pondering on certain things you've never ever thought about before. And lots of Studio Ghibli movies are also tend to have sort of allegories to more deeper connections. Like I was hearing this fan theory, like it's really dark about Spirited Away being like a sex trafficking or Japanese woman sex slave kind of thing. Like there's a whole rabbit hole you can go down. But anyway, I just want to say thank you for watching this video. I mean, I'm a new creator, so I'm checking out different niches. So if you have any topics you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments. As usual, just like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I have said my take. Now I want to hear yours. Peace.